Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel Through the Pages with Dee. As you can see, I've had a little bit of a shift around and I've added some stuff. We've got a desk now, got my laptop up, so we look a little bit more professional. First, I'd like to start by saying hello and welcome new subscribers. Thank you for joining. Excuse me. Welcome for joining. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited to see that I've got new subscribers. I think that's off the back of my Malazan review, which I'm so happy for, because that means that there is actually a Malazan community out there and they are superb. The ones that I've spoken to through the comments so far, absolutely superb. Just to let you all know, I have ordered books 2 and 3 of the Malazan series. They are due to arrive around, I think, February the 20th. So when they come, we'll be getting stuck into those and I will upload a video. I think I will read them back to back and maybe do the video that way, or I'll read the second Dead House Gates and then move on, do a video and then move on. So we'll just see how that plays out. I'm not too sure yet. I'll have to think about it as I'm reading, and we'll make a decision from there. So yeah, grab a coffee, because today's video is my top 20 fantasy characters. Now, this is of the books that I've read so far, pretty much beginning from January. I've read quite a few because, like I said, I'm playing catch up. So I have read quite a few. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. I hope so. It took me a while to think about who I was going to put on this list, because with the books that I've read, I pretty much like most of the characters. But to pick 20 from what you've read, and the characters within those books I've read, where there's an awful lot, we're talking Robin Hobb, John Gwynne, Malazan in itself has a lot of characters. So there is quite a choice. But I think I'm happy with the way I've gone with it. So, should we get started? Why not? So at the bottom, I've gone a little bit different in my choice. So there's 20, as I say. Number 20 is Lycos. Now, why did I pick Lycos? Because these bottom few characters are how, excuse me, the author portrayed them to me, which then how it made me feel and how good the author's writing is. So that just goes to show that within John Gwynne and his writing style, Lycos made me feel in a particular way. So therefore I warrant that as good characterization. So therefore he's a good character to me, because he brought out emotions in me. I literally hated who he was, and in order to feel that, that's got to be well written, and it really was. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a drink. A little frog in the throat there. Next on the list, Regal from Robin Hobb, Farseer trilogy. Same as Lycos, really. Not a fan, don't like him. But again, it stands for the author of how she wrote that character as to how it made me feel. I loathed him, and therefore that emanates her writing capability, that it brought out a feeling in me about a character. So yeah, he's there too. But these bottom few are based on that principle alone, is that I didn't like them, but that shows the ingenuity of that author to make you feel that way, that she could do that or he could do that in their writing capability and bring that emotion out in you. So that's 2019. Number 18 is Hairlock. Again, character you don't particularly like. I did think at the start that he was going to come further forward within the story. I thought he was going to actually, in all honesty, I thought he was going to be a good guy. Turns out, maybe I was wrong there. For those that haven't read Malazan, maybe I was wrong. But I did like him as a character, especially when that particular situation happened. I think I said it in the last video, where he ends up becoming a marionette. That made him stand out to me in the book as a character. So that's why Hairlock is number 18. 17. Kettle from John Gwynne's Faithful and Fallen. I didn't think that this character got enough time within the book. I really enjoyed this character when she was placed into the book, but I wish she would brought in earlier. Excuse me. Yeah, I really thought she should have been brought in earlier, in my opinion. I actually really enjoyed her. I liked the fact that we eventually learnt who she was and that she had capabilities and that she had a history, which therefore meant that things that she'd done in her past prevented her from having that capability, and she needed Verita to bring that back. And it actually turned out she didn't need Verita, she needed Fitz. But the way then she got involved in the situation and became a crucial companion for Verity in what he was trying to do, I really, really enjoyed her as a character. I would have loved to have got quite a bit more of Kettle. So yeah, that's where are we at? 17? Yeah. Yep, 17. 16. Group A from Gardens of the Moon. What's drawn me to Group A, if I'm saying his name correctly, is how he speaks in the third person. I've really enjoyed that. I do know actually quite a few people who do that, and it's just the way he is within this book. I think he's quite funny. You can the way he's described means that you get a visualization of what he's like, and he doesn't seem to be necessarily a very pleasant character to come across in some aspects, particularly the way that he eats and he carries himself. But in general, I think he actually probably is quite a nice man. He's obviously got secrets, and I think he's actually quite a bit more powerful than we actually realise at this point. I presume maybe at some point we will go back to Group A as a character within the further on we go through Malazan. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed him as a character. So that's my number 16. Now we're getting to my more favourite characters, the ones who I actually really, really liked. Number 15 is Veridis from Faithful and the Fallen. I consistently, through John Gwyn's book, wanted Veridis to learn the truth because he was such an honourable character. The loyalty that he showed to Nathan was like a brother. He was never ever prepared to let Nathan down. And then with his brother, his older brother, whose name escapes me right now, but his older brother, and even though there were tensions between the family, he still found it difficult to potentially go against the family. He was just such an honourable man, and I thoroughly enjoyed his character and the relationship between him and Kywin. I'm not really a romance kind of person, but I wanted to see more of that relationship with them two. But yeah, I loved everything about Veridis. So that's why he's at number 15. One who I have enjoyed more than Veridis is Barak from Gardens of the Moon. He, to me, seems, again, quite a powerful person. He's an alchemist, which means he deals more in potions, I think, rather than actual physical magic that he can perform. He's more of a potion maker, and that in itself fascinates me. I have such a strong feel for magic. I love any book to do with magic, and the way he talks, the way he's described, his care for Crocus, his uncle, who turns out to be something quite impressive. Yeah, I really enjoyed Barak as a character, really enjoyed him. But who enjoyed a little bit more than that was Kywin from The Faithful and the Fallen, which was Corbin's sister. I knew very, very early on, I think it was either in Malice or maybe the starts of Ruin, I can't really remember which book it was, one of the first 2 or 3 books where I knew Kywin was going to come to the forefront of things and be a major player within the story. And that made me quite happy. I loved who she was at the start, where she was very protective of her younger brother, Corbin, and when it came to Rafe and the bullying, she was there and she protected Corbin. I really enjoyed that, and the relationship she formed when she got kidnapped and how she was quite calm and kept her cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed Kywin as a character, really enjoyed her. So she's at my number 13 spot. Number 12, bit of a curve, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I don't know who wouldn't like this character when they've read this book, is Gabriel de Leon from Empire of the Vampire. Not only is he mysterious, dangerous, and a vampire, or should we call him a pale blood? The storyline behind Gabriel's life, his tale, makes him even more interesting. The way he's described with the tattoos, I love my tattoos, I'm covered in tattoos. So the idea of this silver saint being covered in tattoos that glow to provide him with extra protection, but they could only do that as long as he believes. The relationship with Celeste, his sister, the way he talks, the way you can feel every single emotion with Gabriel. You don't really need to go off J. Christoph's writing to feel how Gabriel is feeling. It's just there, you can sense it. He's a great character. I really, really enjoyed Gabriel de Leon from Empire of the Vampire. I thought he was fantastic. Number 11, Lady Patience from Farseer Trilogy. I loved Lady Patience's evolvement from being what seemed like a weak, kind of timid, mild-mannered lady to right at the end of the book, she stands up, she becomes strong, she does what's needed of her, she protects Bookkeep, is it? If memory serves me right, she protects Bookkeep, and she seems like at first, when you first meet her, a woman of wealth, obviously because she's the King in Waiting's wife, but she seems like a woman of wealth and loves to wear her jewellery and would never part with it. But then at the end of the story, she's selling everything that she's got just basically to keep the place going and to keep it protected. So the way she evolves as a character is amazing. She goes, like I said, from being just basically the King in Waiting's wife to this kind of warrior woman who is at the forefront, keeping the place safe for everybody that lives there, the citizens of Bookkeep. So great character. So now top 10. At number 10, another curveball, but I really, really enjoyed this character within this book. Oates from the Grey Bastards. What a sweetheart. He was just a sweetheart, even though he is this humongous orc, and he's a full-blood orc, a thrice-blood. Even though he is this humongous orc, his relationship with Jackal and with Fetching is just so sweet. He will do absolutely anything for those guys. And there's a particular scene in the book where him and Fetching kind of get into it. I won't explain the circumstances, but they get into it as in a physical fight. And Oates is close to tears because he's been raised with this girl. This girl is like a sister to him. And there's no way he wants to hurt her. He just doesn't want to. And he's in a position where he has to either... He has to honour one of his friends. And he has to make a choice. And he makes the choice. But he feels awful for doing it. You can... The way it's wrote, that how he feels about doing it. And then, yeah, he's just always there for them. He's just the guy to rely on. If you're getting into a fight and you're a half orc, Oates is the guy you want at your side, or at least I would anyway. I'd want Oates at my side. So yeah, that's why I love that character. He was just loyal to the hilt and loved his friends and loved his mum. He absolutely loved his mum. So he's a great character. In my opinion, these are all my opinion. You can agree, disagree. Please put it in the comments. Let me know who you think are fantastic characters. Number 9, one very close to my heart. Potentially could have been higher on this list, but this is where it's getting tricky, because who do you put where, and and her, and that's where your head's going, and it's like, come on, Dee, you've got to make a decision. So at number 9, Burrich from the Farseer. He was, I would say, the father figure within this story. For Fitz, he was his father. He was the father that Fitz needed, and he was the father that Fitz got. Fitz had other characters who were somewhat father figures, but Burrich was the one from 6 years old who laid down the ground rules and kept Fitz on the straight and narrow. And then further on in the story, you get Burrich where, excuse me, not only is he, excuse me, we have to go again. This is what talking will do to you. Excuse me. Further on in the story, Burrich has to keep his loyalty to Fitz and look after Fitz's love interest, Molly. There's a storyline there, and Burrich chooses to stay with Molly and look after Molly. And he's just... I had a very close relationship with my dad, and I lost my dad. It'll be 10 years ago this April. And Burrich, as I was reading that character, reminded me strongly of my dad. Somebody who's brought up in rough times, somebody who's learnt things along the way, somebody who's able to teach you lessons. And that's everything I found in Burrich as a character whilst reading him, was that's who he was. And I loved him. I thought he was amazing. So that's my number 9. At number 8, we've got Quick Ben from Gardens of the Moon. Besides some of the other sorcerers in this particular story, Quick Ben is one who, there was a certain part of his storyline that caught my attention of him as a character. I won't go into too much detail, as I've said, but what he did and the cunning behind it and how he got away with it was phenomenal. I thought, I love this character. Every paragraph that he was in, I thoroughly enjoyed. I wanted more of Quick Ben, if that's even entirely possible within Gardens of the Moon. I hope he shows his face again in the books to come. I really, really enjoyed reading Quick Ben's sections. So yeah, he's one who I look forward to reading again. And he's, again, very loyal to his friends, always there when he's needed, quite a quick thinker, thinks on his feet. So yeah, he's one of my favourite characters. Number 7. This is one where I couldn't pick. So, excuse me, I've had to put them together. Now I know I sang the praises of Burrich, but because I've put these two together, I put them higher on the list, just purely because I had to put them together. Because they kind of, to me, even though they're on different paths in their stories, when you read John Gwyn's books, they're kind of... sorry, do I mean John Gwyn? Verity Chade. Verity Chade is who is at number 7. When you read the book that they're in, they're how can I put this without spoiling it? They are somewhat similar. Chade is an assassin, and Verity, because of what happens, becomes the king in waiting. But it's not John Gwyn, sorry, it's Robin Hobb. My bad. So they're on different paths, but from the same bloodline, it turns out. And even though they're on different paths, they are kind of similar in who they are as characters. Very noble, very to the cause, very for the realm. That's what I couldn't decipher between the two. And they both mean a lot to Fitz, and Fitz means a lot to both of those. Not quite as much as Fitz, I think, my personal opinion, means to Burrich, but they both have feelings for Fitz, where they have to, in their ways, be there for him when and if it's necessary. So that's why I put those two together, because for me, reading those two characters, even though they are different in certain ways in the book, I also found a lot of similarities in regards to how they treated Fitz. So that's why those two are together, and they're at 7. Obviously, there has to be an animal companion in here somewhere, because I love animal companions. At number 6 is Night Eyes. Is there really much more to be said about that? It's Night Eyes. We all love Night Eyes. He's just great. He can talk. He can hunt. He can look after you. Why would you not love Night Eyes? I just adore that character. So he's at my number 6. Now from here, this is where it got way more difficult. And at number 5, I put Gar from The Faithful and the Fallen. Again, to me, another father figure. Maybe I have some daddy issues. I don't know. But Gar was definitely up there. He had to be up there in my list. Gar is amazing. Never, ever is there, from what I can remember, a time in The Faithful and the Fallen where Corbin cannot be in a situation and look behind him and Gar's going to be there to help him. I don't remember a situation where that isn't the case. There may well be one, I just don't remember it. Or maybe I choose not to remember it. I don't know. But Gar, to me, is superb. He is a second father figure to Corbin. He guides him, he teaches him. He is just the epitome of who you would want at your side in the most heartbreaking and treacherous of times. That's who you'd want, is Gar. So I love Gar. Number 4 is Perrin from Gardens of the Moon. He's a great character. Now, even though he's not got much in the ways of magic or really fight scenes or anything like that, there's a couple of fight scenes, but he doesn't have much in the way of, say, some of the other characters. Just who he is alone as a character made me want to read more of him. I really enjoyed his backstory, which you get a little bit of to find out who he is and where he's from. And then the situation with the gods and the sword he carries and the different friendships he makes along the way and how he is this one way and then is that way. Loved him. Loved Perrin. Number 3, Corbin. How could you not have Corbin in there? He's a great character and he is the epitome in fantasy of a hero. He is the hero. He never thinks for himself. It's always for everybody else. He's always there to back up his friends and back up his family without any consideration for how it might harm him or what it might do to him. He is our hero. He is the hero. And there's nothing really more I can say about Corbin. Number 2, as I say, this was a fighting spot. It really was. Maybe some of my decisions were made on what I've recently read, to give you a bit of an insight, but this is the way it went, and I'll explain why. And number 2 is Fitz from the Farseer trilogy. Now, the reason why he's at number 2, and this may go against what some people think, but from my own opinion, the reason why he's at number 2 is because I found at times in him with Molly, he slightly aggravated me as a character. He became weaker and she was able to maybe bully him a little bit and make him feel quite bad for the way he was being, when most of the time the situations were actually out of his hands. There wasn't a great deal that he could do about what was happening. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of those particular sections, and I wanted him to stand up a bit more and speak up for himself in a much more authoritative way. Not to bully Molly or be nasty to Molly or anything like that, but just to be a little bit more direct with himself. So that's for me why Fitz is at number 2. I wish there was a drum roll. And my personal number 1 spot goes to, drum roll, no, sound guys, they've gone, is Tattersail. I adore Tattersail. I adore her before the change, and I'm hoping I'm going to continue to love her after the change. There is a particular scene that almost made me cry between her and Perrin, And if a character can touch me to that point where I can cry, or I can almost cry, they get a big, huge tick from me. So yes, she was fantastic. So yeah, that's my top 20 characters from the recent fantasies I've read. You may disagree, you may have your own opinions. Please, if you do, pop them in the comments. We can have a discussion. But that's my top 20, and Tattersail comes out top for me. She's a fantastic sorceress. There's some power there. It seems to be that there's going to be even more power there when everything's played out as it will do. And yeah, she is one who I am looking forward to reading about again. I am chomping at the bit to get back into where Tattersail's storyline is going. So that's my top 20. I'd like to say thank you to all the new subscribers, and if you would please like and subscribe, ting the bell so that you can know when I've next popped up a video. And that's it from me. I shall see you guys again on Monday. That will be the next day that I post, all being well, health, etc. But until then, I will see all you guys through the pages.